Cocodona 250 is fast approaching. Actually faster than I realised. I thought it was a week Monday, hence the last minute slightly rushed preview. Sorry about that. Anyway, the Cocodona 250 in a short space of time has gained a fantastic reputation and cemented itself as one of the most talked about and from a fan's point of view the most exciting 200 milers on US soil. 200 milers, as I talked about in my 2025 predictions video, are becoming more and more competitive, attracting some of the biggest names in the sport, and Cocodona is leading the way in that one. In my opinion, part of the reason they're so fun to follow is that they play out like the 100 milers of a decade ago, where strategy and game plans still really matter, blow-ups and DNFs still frequently occur, and it's not just about who is the fittest or fastest. If you want to know more about the Cocodona course and the challenges these athletes will face, I'd recommend the fantastic film The Chase, covering last year's race, or any of the great films Viper has put out about the previous editions. In this video, I'm just going to talk about a few runners you should keep an eye on if you're following along with this year's race. If I miss anyone, or you want to let me know your picks, drop a comment below, and remember to subscribe while you're down there. Let's jump into it. So let's start with one of the biggest names in ultra running, and by far the biggest name to have ever raced 200 milers, Courtney Walter. Now if you found my little channel, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you who Courtney is or list off her accolades, so I'll summarise by saying that she has won and set the course record at almost every major 100 miler on the planet, and she's undefeated in ultras that she's finished since 2018. What you may have forgotten or not be aware of if you're a newer fan of the sport is that she's also pretty decent at 200 milers. Now she's only done 2 and it's been a while since she raced one, but she's walked away victorious from both of those as well, including taking the overall win at the Moab 240 in 2017. So it's safe to say that I imagine almost everyone else, can't see past Courtney for the win on the women's side. The real question, and something I talked about in my 2025 predictions video, is can Courtney win this thing outright? As far as I can find, she's not raced many of the guys in this field head to head, so the best convoluted comparison that I mentioned in that predictions video is that she beat last year's second place finisher Jeff Browning by over an hour at Hard Rock in 2023, and he missed out on the win here at Cocodona by just under half an hour. I think she has the ability to win outright, the experience at 200 milers, and most importantly, I think she'll nail her pacing, as some of Courtney's highest overall finishes have been due to working through the carnage of the men's race in the second half, such as her overall 6th place finish at the 2023 Western States. So I'm super interested in how she'll race this one. Will we see her in the front pack, or charging through the field later in the race? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sticking with the prediction that I made back in January, and I'm picking her for the overall win. Okay, there may be some British bias here, but I think Jack Scott is a legit underdog contender. His biggest result, which has put him up there as one of the biggest names in British ultra running, is his win and course record at the 2024 Winter Spine Race, a 268-mile race here in the UK. Jack stormed away from a very competitive field, winning in 72 hours 55 minutes, just under 10 hours clear of second place, and beating the existing Jasmine Paris course record by over 10 hours. For some context, and I do realise that the winter conditions play a massive part in year-on-year times, but this year the race was won in just under 83 hours, nearly 10 hours slower, and also featured a name that my American audience will be very familiar with, 3-time Barkley finisher John Kelly, who finished in 87.55, almost exactly 15 hours slower than Jack's course record. A few other notable results include a top 10 at Tot Dret, the 130km race at Tour de Gent, a win at probably the most competitive 50k in the UK, the UTS 50k, and a 35th place at OCC in 2023, which is still a pretty impressive result considering the calibre of that field. I think the biggest test for Jack will be the heat, but luck might be on his side there as conditions don't look as hot as they could be, plus he's been working on his heat strategy in the lab with Leeds University, and I'm sure he'll be as prepared as he could be for the weather. Given his experience racing these distances and his ability to push hard in grueling conditions, digging deeper, like 10 and 15 hours deeper than Barkley Marathon finishers, I think he's got a real chance here, and I'm backing him for the win in the men's race, finishing second overall. Last year's winner and 200-mile racing specialist Harry Sabertus is back, and it's safe to say, unlike last year, he won't be flying under the radar this time around. His win and course record was seemingly perfectly executed, not leaving too much of a gap to the leaders like we saw with Arlen Glick, and close enough to take the lead in the final miles of the race, leaving no time for Jeff to react to the move. We could see something similar again this year, as I think the race will go off hot, and we've seen in the shorter distances, like at Canyons and Black Canyon, the bonk is back. The sport has got to the point where sticking with the leaders, covering moves at the expense of going deep into the red has become the norm. And whilst for a while there seemed to be a bit of a sweet spot, we're now back to seeing those who play it slightly more conservatively early on make up places in the latter stages. So I think Harry's approach could serve him well here, and I'm putting him third overall. Oh, and I forgot to mention that after winning Cocodona last year, he raced 3 more 200-milers, taking another win, a second and a fourth. So yeah, he's pretty damn good at the longer stuff. Max Joliff stepped up to the 200-mile distance at the Moab 240 last year and won, beating Harry Sabertus in the process. Watching his fantastic film, The King of Moab, it wasn't without its difficulties though. He had a super tough middle part of the race where he was reduced to walking for long stretches, before eventually turning it around. Coming into his second 200-miler here, he will have learnt a lot from that experience, but I do worry in a field as strong as this that the race just goes away from him and doesn't come back if he encounters similar issues. On top of that Moab win, Max has a few wins at more regional races, a top 20 at TDS, and a 14th place a couple of months ago at the super competitive Black Canyon 50k. I can't really decide how this plays out for Max. He's not the best pure runner or climber in the field, and he's not got as much experience at the distance as some of the other top contenders. Listening to interviews with him and watching his Moab film, he often says that his greatest strength is his willpower and never give up mentality. But will that be enough here? Can he dig deeper into the pain cave than Courtney Walter herself? I'm not sure. If he does have a great race here, I think Max, being younger than most 200-mile specialists, sets himself up as one of the top long trail and multi-day guys in the sport for years to come, in the same vein as someone like Joe McConaughey. So this could be a proper career-defining race for him. As far as my picks go, I'm leaving him off the podium but putting him fourth on the men's side, but I would not be surprised to see him closer to the front. Dan Green is a bit of a wild card and the biggest unknown quantity in the field. Lots of people are tipping him for a big result here, as he's definitely the best pure runner in the field, and if you halve the distance, he wins this by a decent margin. Dan has a top 10 finish at the always competitive Black Canyon 100k, and recently finished third at Javelin 100, just 13 minutes behind David Roche in under 13 hours. So yeah, he's incredibly fast over 100 miles, but he lacks experience at anything over that, or even experience of 100-milers on challenging courses that usually take runners over the 20-hour mark, like UTMB for example. In fact, his longest time on feet from what I can see on Ultra Sign Up is just under 16 hours, so it's quite a jump up to a 60-hour race. I feel like I've said this with everyone, but I'm really curious about his strategy. The pace in the early miles will be absolutely pedestrian for Dan, so will he be patient enough to wait it out for the first 100 miles, or will he cover any early moves? Like Max, I would not be surprised to see him on the podium. He's definitely talented enough, but I'm going to favour experience at the distance and leave him off my picks. A few other names to keep an eye on in the men's field. You've got 2 other returning Cocodona champions in Michael Versteeg and Mike McKnight, another Moab 240 champion in Jesse Haynes, and fan favourite multi-time Cocodona top 10 finisher Jeff Garmire, all bringing plenty of 200-mile experience to the field. Another one debuting at the distance is Western States 2017 champion Ryan Sands, who interestingly is the only person in the field that I can find who has run any course quicker than Courtney Walter, running 25 minutes quicker at Western States, but that was back in 2012. And finally, a couple familiar names to look out for who do so much great media work within the sport: Andy Jones-Wilkins and Finn Melanson. Finn in particular could improve on his 7th place from last year, given his experience on the course and his current level of fitness. The man recently soloed a 1:13 half marathon in training and has had some good results at 50k races leading into this one. I'm actually backing Finn to round out the men's top 5, probably more of a pick from the heart considering he is the soundtrack to my long runs, but if my predictions around blow-ups from the front pack come true, there's every chance a solid top 10 guy could run their way up into the top 5 or better. And then finally on the women's side, although I think Courtney wins this by a big margin, she still has to get to the finish. And I mean no disrespect to the other women in the field when I say that. It's more just a testament to Courtney's brilliance that this feels like a foregone conclusion. But if she falters, there is talent in this field, so keep your eyes on Georgia Porter, a 200-mile debutante who has top 10s at competitive races such as Black Canyon, Gorge Waterfalls and the Broken Arrow Sky Race, previous Cocodona and Moab 240 champion Sarah Ostarzewski, Lindsay Dwyer, who has a bunch of wins in smaller and regional races, plus a top 40 finish at UTMB, and Mika Fuse, who has 200-mile wins at races like Bigfoot and Tahoe, as well as 2 third-place finishes here at Cocodona and a 6th place at Tour de Jeanne. So that's it for this preview. Get yourself ready to tune in on Monday. Cocodona is one of the best races to follow and plays out over multiple days. You can easily dip in and out. There's also a lovely sociable aspect to the live chat, as it doesn't move as quickly as races like Western States, so you can often interact with the hosts and discuss the action with other viewers a little easier. Let me know if I've missed anyone and let me know your picks in the comments below. Remember to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with more ultra running content. Cheers.